24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Well, we're back. It's Monday. Bobby, we picked the wrong days or weeks to talk about the Giants. If we were on about a week ago, we could have been bragging. We could have said, look at our Giants. They scored 45 points against the Indianapolis Colts. Instead, we're on here talking about how the Giants got beat by a quarterback. I have no idea who he is. Threw 2 touchdowns against them as the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's a 7th-round draft pick. Throws 2 touchdowns against us, and we lose against the Philadelphia Eagles. How you doing, everybody? I'm MacMan, and we got Big Bobby G here. The SeatGeek thing. Use the NSS code, folks. If you're going to go to SeatGeek, right? You go to SeatGeek. You just put on a promo code NSS. They give you money off your first tickets. And then if you use it again, when you purchase out, hit the NSS promo code. And then when you come back in, use it again. They know who you are. They give you more discounts on more tickets. It's the best games, some of the best concerts out there. SeatGeek is one of the best out there. And, of course, we got a couple of sponsors, Bet Us and ZodiacTv that carry us too. So enough about our promotions. Big Bobby G, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Mac.
All right, cool. So I'm going to start off the show with a trivia, and we'll give the answer at the end because, Big Bobby G gets excited when I do these things.
I won't say the answer. I promise.
Okay, all right.
No, I won't say that because I don't know the answer.
We did a similar question to this, but this one is a little bit different. Okay. So what I want to know from folks out there is who is the Giants player who scored the most touchdowns in one game? In one game. The whole season. You got a lot of running backs and quarterbacks and wide receivers to choose from. The Giants have had a bunch of them. So that's the question for today. Which Giants player scored the most touchdowns? You don't have to give me the amount. I'll tell you what the amount is, but you don't have to give that to me. So put that on the back burner for now. And at the end of the show, we'll give you the answer. Don't Google it. Don't cheat. Just guess. You have to put in the comments. Just guess. I'll tell you if you're right or if you're right. If you're right, we'll send you something. I'm not sure. You have to email me. We'll send you. I got something I can send you. Maybe a Giants football card or something like that of your favorite player. I got plenty of those. Plenty of memorabilia. So, Bobby, let's quickly go over the Indianapolis Colts game. We scored on offense. We scored on defense. We scored on special teams. Scored 45 points. Our quarterback looked almost like a Pro Bowler against a Colts defense that's not that bad. They're fighting for the playoffs, as you mentioned before the game, and we still hung 45 on them. What happened?
You know, it's funny. After the game was over, I think Dabo, and I don't know if he's taking a shot at Jones or just in general making a statement. He said after the game was over that good quarterback play can really cover a lot of ills that a football team has. And you mentioned that our quarterback, he played out of his mind. I mean, if he played that way since the Giants started him after they decided to move on from Daniel Jones, we may be having a whole different conversation about where this team might be going next year and the year after that. But he was the big difference. Having an efficient and really an outstanding quarterback making great decisions, making all the throws he needed to make. Heck, he ran for a touchdown. He threw 4 touchdowns and ran for 1. You can't ask for more than that. That's all pro-level quarterbacking at its best. And unfortunately for us, we just haven't seen enough of it over the last X amount of years, really since Eli Manning has left the building. But that being said, I don't know. We'll talk a little bit later about who we'll want to bring back, and this show, maybe another show. But is he someone that you think about? Wow, is he part of the quarterback solution in the quarterback room of the future? Or is he just going to be discarded as another quarterback who just didn't make it after a 1-year contract? I don't know that answer yet.
I mean, if he did it again against the Eagles,
yes.
If he came out and he threw the ball like that against the Eagles again, then I might agree with you. I might say, well, maybe there's something here. But you go up and you play against the second-string Philadelphia Eagles. What, you score 10 points, 13 points? I mean, what are we at? We did 1 touchdown. Man, 1 touchdown. I mean, and it's not like you don't have weapons, and you're not playing against their starting defense. You got Malik Neighbors, right? You got a couple of tight ends. Yeah, you've got a couple of receivers that are pretty good. I don't know. It seems to me that the Giants don't have an identity, and I think we talked about this before, right?
Yes, we have.
The old Giants had an identity. They would run you over. That was their identity. Play action pass, and then they would kill you. And their defense would do what it had to do to stop you. The Giants don't have that no more. There's no defense that's going to stand up there and hold you to 10 points or get the ball back right away. And there's no quarterback that we have that can throw the bomb with any kind of consistency, long passes. And we don't have. I mean, we have a rookie running back. It's his first year. I get it. But we don't have that running game where we can just control the clock and keep the other offenses off the field. We don't have any of that. And it's a third year for the ball and shine, Batman and Robin. And listen, it didn't get any better. I mean, all right, we had the playoff. Maybe the first year, maybe that was setting the bar too high. We got a little lucky, maybe. Say we got lucky. And we made the playoffs and won one playoff game. Then we fall. And then we fall further. You can't do that. I mean, you got to at least, in the second year, I think we won 6 games or 7 games, something like that. You at least got to do that again and maybe get a game up than that. You don't fall further down. And Wellington Mara saying, hey, everything's cool. We're running it back with them again. I don't get it, especially when they're firing coaches after their first year or after the second year. Super Bowl coaches and from the Jags, a guy from the Patriots who had a worse roster than we did. They're firing them, and we're going to keep the ball, and we're going to keep shy about it.
Yeah, I know we talked about in the past. We talked about how the Mara and Tisch regime really craves stability, and they crave it so much so that I sometimes think there's blinders on their eyes on what they're seeing out on the field. I mean, we were listening to a quote right before we came on the air from Mara and what he said about staying the course and these are the two people that we feel are gonna bring us, to the. I mean, I'll paraphrase, bring us to the promised land, and there's no evidence to it. Not only were we bad this year, we were historically bad.
Yeah.
No Giant team has the 100-year anniversary this year of the Giants. This is the worst team in 100 years the Giants have fielded, and they're just going to roll the same regime out there and think things are going to change. I mean, you can go back to the draft that they made. You go back to 2022, and you think about, and I understand. I understand when we have two players in the top 5, and I'm not gonna do revisionist history and they say the Giants should have took this person or the Giants should have took that person, but because quite frankly, when they drafted Thibodeau and Neal, I for one was very happy.
Yeah,
I thought you build. I really truly believe this. You build from the inside out. So the Giants took an offensive tackle. Or a guard, I guess he played both in college, and they took a down lineman who had a reputation of rushing the passer and putting pressure on the passer. So from hindsight, now we know that didn't work out like we had planned it, but that was their first really big bite at the apple, if you will, and it just didn't work out. And then they doubled down. And in the third, I believe it was the third round, they take a cornerback who was really a flop, who was really just he's a slot corner. He's not a shutdown corner. So the first 3 rounds, the first 3 picks that they pick are players that are, I don't want to say the words good because I'm not sure Neal will ever be good. I don't know if Thibodeau will ever be great. He's good. I don't know if he'll ever be great. The 5th-year options coming up on both this spring. I don't know. I can't see the Giants exercising those, and again, this is their first bite at the apple on their first 2 number 1 draft picks. I don't see them doing it. So to me, that's a fail. You go on to you go to 2023, and their Giants needed a wide receiver. In the worst way in that draft, coming out of that draft. So going back a couple of years ago. So there was a run on wide receivers, and I don't remember all the people's names. I can't remember. There was 4 or 5 wide receivers, maybe 6 that went in the first round before the Giants pick came up. So they decide that they're going to trade up to draft banks. So they give away draft capital. And instead of staying, and I don't know if we talked about it on the air. I know we talked about it off the air. Instead of just taking Joey Porter or Banks, wherever we're going to fall to them, because one of them they were both there. So, and I don't know if 1A, 1B, I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, and I shouldn't even mention Joey Porter. I don't want to do revisionist history because at the time, I know Wink Martindale was really excited about that draft pick. So much so he grabbed Sean and hugged him really hard during the draft itself. I had no problem with the pick. At the time, no problem with the trade-up. Then the Giants decide to go with a center in the second round. Again, no problem with going with Schmidt in the second. No problem. I thought it was a good pick. Unfortunately, he's been ranked by Pro Football Focus. At the end of the year, I happened to look at some stats today. He's in the bottom 5 of starting centers in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you've taken draft capital of some players I've just mentioned, and these are high draft picks in your first 2 drafts. And there's, when you want to throw in, Jalen Hyatt, you want to throw him in as a trade up to go get him in that particular draft too. And we've talked about they're trading up to go get Wan'Dale Robinson in the second round instead of maybe going after Pinkins, who was drafted a few picks later by the Steelers. And he would look, our whole wide receiver group would look a lot different. So I'm mentioning players that were in the top 3 picks of the draft, and they just haven't worked out for Schoen and for Dable. They just haven't. And this is, in my opinion, why the Giants are in the position that they're in now. Now you can say, well, Daniel Jones, they extended him because he went to the playoffs, as you mentioned earlier. That's great, and that's all, well and good. They haven't hit on a draft pick that you can say, wow, I can see this particular person being an all-pro for years to come. Our all-pros on our team from Gettleman.
Is it the guys we drafted, or is it the coaching?
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't know if the coaching has coached them up, or we were snake bit because the players. Again, I'm not trying to say that.
I mean, the Giants' offensive line since we went to the Super Bowl has been terrible.
Yep,
terrible.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I don't even know who our offensive line coaches, to be honest with you.
We've gone through a few.
But I mean, they went out. One of the things they did this year that I was excited about was go out and sign some very good veterans too, that played very well on different teams, and it really didn't do that much. So if they're playing well for Green Bay and they're playing well for the Raiders and their positions, and they come here and they don't play as well, then I have to think that they're being coached better on the other teams than they are here.
Yeah, you make a great point. That's a great point. No, I think it goes hand in hand. So it goes back to what we just started talking about when we talked about Mara's statement. He's going to stay the course with these two. And I just mentioned about some drafting that they've done. Now, this draft, I'm not going to talk about the last draft class because there seems to be some good players there. Let's see. Those guys got a lot. I mean, I think every draft pick played at some point, at least in some role during the course of this year. So we'll see how that works out next year. But I'm not going to. So I'm just going back to a couple of years where I think we missed the ball. And Daniel Jones was also a problem. He was a coach killer because he was never great. And you gave him you gave him a big salary bump after the playoff run. Maybe you had to. Maybe you had to do that.
I don't know. And some people out there like Daniel Jones. Some don't like him at all. Some think he sucks. I really don't know what Daniel Jones is still today.
I agree.
I don't. And I don't want to say, listen, every quarterback has a bad offensive line one time or another, and you got to overcome that. But he was injured so much. I don't know if he's good. He had that one year that he was okay. And okay, I mean, not great. He was okay. He did what he had to do. And he got his raise because of that. Maybe they thought that was a springboard. I don't know. I just don't know what Daniel Jones is. And there's a few quarterbacks I don't know what they are yet because the roster wasn't good. I'll give you an example. The Patriots got Drake May, and they're like, "Oh, he's going to be really good." I don't know that yet. He's got talent. He can run with the ball. He's got a good arm. Daniel Jones can run with the ball. He has a good arm too. But the roster is so bad, you really don't know what you got there yet, right?
No, I agree. No one has put. You go back to Jerry Reese. No one has put more draft capital into the offensive line. Any team in the NFL more than the Giants have.
I agree.
Now I don't know if it's bad drafting, bad luck, bad coaching, all the above. But they've tried, and they've signed free agents. Like
the Eagles have an offensive line coach. The name escapes me right now. But he works them the whole year. I mean, they draft these linemen. They don't play till the following year. All they do is play behind and learn, and then they start when they're ready. And they have a hell of a system there. And that's why the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles is so good. They don't take a rookie and throw him in there like a Neal and say, okay, go play offensive tackle. There are very few tackles that can play. Look at Thomas, right? Thomas looks like he could be a very good offensive tackle. Of course,
I agree. But his first year, he was not good.
Right. And he's going up against the best pass rushers in the NFL, not college, in the NFL. And he looked pretty good before he got hurt. And he's a good run blocker, and he looked pretty good in pass blocking, but he got hurt. So we still don't know. He looks like he could be good. But again, I want to know who our offensive coach is, Bobby. I'm going to look that up for next week because I don't know. The center. I mean, I've seen the backup center play better than our starting center when he was hurt. He's in there this year. He didn't play too well. Our guards, the guy from Green Bay, can't remember his name. He was an all-pro, I think, with Green Bay. And the guy from the Raiders was one of the better tackles in the league in the AFC. And all of a sudden, he's not playing well. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I got to find out who the offensive coach is.
It was announced today that the guard and I from Green Bay who plays for us now, did play with a separated shoulder for most of the season.
Well,
it was announced today. So I mean, we don't know. We don't know who's hurt and how they're playing through certain nicks that they might get. But you play through with a separated shoulder. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, he is tough. But I guess we don't have enough depth to let him rest.
That's the other problem too. Is the depth, and I know they elevated Phillips from tackle from our squad, the practice team, and he played right tackle for us decently yesterday, and he's kind of bouncing back and forth. I don't know why he's not on the roster actively, because I watched a little bit of him, and he seemed to be holding his own up, and every time he's in there, he seems to hold his own up, and the Giants cut him every year, and they bring him back every year. It's just crazy to me.
I don't know. So let's talk about last year's draft a little bit. So we needed a quarterback. We all know we needed a quarterback. They interviewed a bunch of quarterbacks. Of course, quarterbacks we weren't going to get. They interviewed Williams and Daniels and Drake May. I think they even did they interview? They interviewed J.J. McCarthy also. Got her.
They spent a lot of time with McCarthy. A lot of time.
Now we got Malik Neighbors, which I think is. I think he's going to be something special. I think that kid's going to be really, really good. So I have no problem with that draft of getting Malik Neighbors, but we needed a quarterback. And Penix Jr. showed me again, the second game in a row, what a great quarterback this kid's going to be. He was right there. He was there. I don't even know if we interviewed him or not. I know he had injury problems. The kid can throw a long ball. He's accurate. They almost beat the Carolina Panthers yesterday. It was a hell of a game. I think it was 44-38 or something overtime. And he threw for over 300 yards and a few touchdowns. This kid's going to be unbelievable. So, mistake or not, Bobby? Is Malik Neighbors? I mean, I don't know.
It's so funny. I like doing those simulations, those draft simulators. I can't tell you how many times, and I lost count, how many times I would take, because he was always there for me, J.J. McCarthy, the big three were always gone. And I would always take J.J. McCarthy in the first round, and I would take McConkey, who's playing great over in San Diego, in the second round. And that's where he went in the second round. I can't tell you. Now, I'm not saying the Giants would have did that, and it would be better if they did that because revisit his history. But we might look a wee bit different if we had McCarthy and McConkey as our number one first quarterback and our maybe go-to wide receiver. Because like I said, he's having a hell of a year in San Diego. The problem with this year's draft is that if J.J. McCarthy was coming out this year, and he could have stayed an extra year. He could have. And he chose not to.
Right.
He'd be the number one quarterback on everyone's board right now.
Easy.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
There's no doubt.
I've been reading some, and I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know what the Vikings are going to do with Darnold. They're going to sign him long term. I don't know. They've got our boy Daniel Jones as the backup out there.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you maybe talk to people like the Giants, or the Vikings, and see what you might get on the open market for, again, a damaged McCarthy because he hurt his knee? Do you see what you might get on the open market in a trade? Seeing that you would be the number one quarterback coming out, do the Giants say, well, A second and a fifth, 2 and a 5.
I think Sam Darnold, if he goes to Super Bowl, is going to get a contract.
Big
If he doesn't, I don't know. If the Minnesota Vikings get knocked out against the Rams, I don't know. I don't know if he gets a contract or not. I have a feeling the Vikings are keeping McCarthy. That's their future. I have a feeling of that. I think they drafted him so high. I think they keep him. My opinion of draft, right? You got the Tennessee Titans that are ahead of us right now.
They need a quarterback.
And the Cleveland Browns. Both
need quarterbacks. Yep.
And I don't think either one of those quarterbacks are that good. I don't think Sanders is that good. And I don't think Ward's that good. I don't think they're going to be good NFL quarterbacks. Is my opinion. I think they'll be okay, but I don't think they're franchise quarterbacks. So I have a feeling if the Giants are smart, they get Travis Hunter. This is what they get their cornerback who can be a special team player. You can put him in an offense sometimes as a wide receiver or a slot guy or whatever. I think he's the best player out there. Heisman Trophy winner. I think that's a hell of a pickup. So now we need a quarterback. This is what I do, Bobby. I don't know if you watched the Patriots game yesterday. I watched
some of it, yeah.
That kid, Milton, who I saw in preseason, is not only have a strong arm, not only is an athlete, but is accurate. I think last year the beginning of the year, we have a guy that comes in, does the Patriots updates for us. He follows the Patriots. He says Milton was the best quarterback in the camp last year, in training camp this year. Best. He was better than May. He was better than the old guy. So, of course, they drafted Drake May, first round. He's playing. I offer the Patriots a second round, the number 2 pick, the second round pick. I give him for Milton. I bring him over. I say, let's see what he's got.
I liked Milton coming out of Tennessee. I liked him a lot in college. And again, during my little draft things I did, I would always take a flyer on him later if I didn't get the quarterback I liked.
Right.
For a 5th or 6th pick. He's always seemed to be around 4th, 5th, or 6th. And how smart were the Patriots to do that?
Yeah.
To draft 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That I think alone. Now people are going to say that, well, the Patriots won the game. They're not drafting first, which they would have taken a quarterback anyways.
Right.
But I think that if you're as high that on him as you are, and I don't know a lot about him, and you know people who have actually been to camp, watched him progress through the OTAs and spring and through training camp, and they think that he's got the tools. Maybe a second. I don't know a lot about him. I know that they traded Garoppolo for a second round pick. And
right.
It just was. I mean, he didn't become the quarterback they ever thought he was going to become, but he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. He brought the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl.
Definitely.
Well, if they're that high.
Bobby, I'm not saying that he's, the answer. I'm saying let him compete. Bring him in. He's better. To me, he's better than Sanders. He's been in the NFL for a year. He's 200. He's 6'5", 230.
Nice size.
He won 22 for 29, granted against the Buffalo Bills second stringer.
It's okay.
Threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and he threw to I think his name is Booty, the wide receiver. First wide receiver this year for New England to have 100 yards in one game.
Wow. That's great.
So
that's great.
So I'm again against the second string, again has potential. And I think if you put him against, our starting quarterback from this year, I think he could beat him out. But here you got your brand new young quarterback. You got your young wide receiver. You got your young running back. Let's go. Let's do it.
And we got the Heisman Trophy winner. So if your draft falls that way, and people are saying that he's one of those one of those great players that comes along every 10 or 15 years, he's
right.
That type of player. Then if it's the NFL draft and you want to be a better football team, then you draft the best players. That's
right.
how you become better.
So I mean,
I'm all for it.
I'm calling up Mara after the show. Now listen, go get the Milton kid. I mean, you're not gonna. What are you gonna give up for him? A second round, a third, maybe a fifth round?
Maybe
Who knows?
a third rounder? What was he?
Yeah,
What was he? A
who knows?
fifth round pick?
Who knows? He was like a fifth round.
Yeah,
But so
I mean,
was,
I can see pitchers wanting a 2. They might not get a 2.
all right,
Because there's no history.
exactly.
So
Negotiate. Come on, Shine,
yeah,
negotiate. You know,
3 to 7. We have 2 7th round picks. A 3 to 7.
right? So, I mean, it wouldn't be any worse than we got, Bob. That's number one.
And I wouldn't mind doing that, and I wouldn't mind taking one of the flyers on one of the kids at the latter part of the draft. Like I know we talked about the quarterback from Georgia. I know he got hurt. You know, he might be around in the 6th or 7th round. Maybe the Giants.
I mean, the quarterback class. I mean, what the good quarterback class was last year. We missed it.
We missed it badly.
We missed it. This year is going to be weak. Maybe next year is weak too. I don't know. I mean, when I watched the Oregon quarterback there. I'm trying to remember his name now. When they lost to Ohio State, Gabriel. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't look that good to me. He looks small, and he looked. Maybe it was just because Ohio State just destroyed him. I don't know, but he really didn't look that good to me either. Ewers for Texas. He looks okay. I mean, he's up and down. Milroe for Alabama looks okay. I don't see nothing up. I don't see Daniels. I don't see a Williams. No. I don't see I don't see any of those out there right now. So
next year, the quarterbacks would be Arch Manning if he comes out.
He won't come out.
The LSU quarterback escapes me. He went back for his senior year.
Yeah, he's okay.
Not in the same mold as a Daniels.
He's okay.
So he'll come out next year. So there's 2 that I can think of. I haven't really looked at it.
Yeah, Arch Manning ain't coming out. You don't
think so?
It's his team. Ewers is coming out, so he's going to be there for Texas. He'll be Texas starting quarterback next year. He's got 2 years left, so I think he'll play. I think he'll play the next 2 years there. So, but anyway,
he has a great year though. If he comes out and he has a year that's set, that transcends.
I mean, Arch Manning was a great high school quarterback. Is he going to be a great college quarterback? I'll find out, I guess. I know he's got the Manning name, but he's still got to prove it. He's still got to prove it, right? He's still got to go out to prove it. So, I mean, it's not like he took Ewers' job away from him. So
I know that's a good point. He didn't. But when he was hurt, Manning came in and played very well.
He did play well.
Oh, he did do that. He was a good. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
He has the right name.
Yeah, he does have a good name. So we're going to talk about one of the coaches we do every week. This coach didn't have a great record. I mean, he was like 5. He was a little bit above 500. Let me see. Let me see if I get a. He was 102-90. So he really didn't. I mean, he was good, but he won 2 Super Bowls. That's all it matters. That's all that matters. Look who we're talking about. Oh my God, Tom.
I miss Tom Coughlin. I wish he was back.
Yes, I wish he was back too. Holy good God, Tom Coughlin. 2007, 2011 Super Bowls. Little tough in the beginning. The players kind of had to reel him in a little bit. I mean, he had arrows pointing where to walk and stuff. You imagine being a player and you coming into your facility that you've been going into, say, 2-3 years, and there's arrows pointing to where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah, Michael Strahan didn't like that too much.
Not at all. Him and Tiki Barber and a couple other guys. Justin Tuck said, "Hey, listen, Tom, we love you and everything, but this ain't going to work." Taskmaster from the Bill Parcells tree, right? Offensive coach for at least 1990. I think Ron Earhart was 86. He was offense coordinator. I don't think Tom Coughlin was part of that crew, but I know he was there in 1990 when they beat the Buffalo Bills. He had, trying to remember the 2, the touchdown making, Steve Baker was one of his wide receivers. Number 87, I can't think of his name right now. He was the other one that made a hell of a play, but he pretty much had the receivers, Zeke Mowat and the tight ends and everything there, and probably a little bit more than just a wide receivers coach. I think he was more involved than just a wide receivers coach. Bill Belichick was supposed to be the special teams coach when he was running the defense. So, I mean, whatever you want to say, Tom Coughlin, great strategist, great motivator, disciplinarian, something that I think a lot of teams need today that don't have, as you see in Miami and a lot of different places, players acting like a fool. They need a little discipline. Tom Coughlin would bring that into you. And, I mean, what can you say about him, Bob? He's just a great head coach.
He was a great college coach, Boston College, had some great seasons up there at BC. He really started the J Fund. It's funny. Tom Coughlin is someone who you mentioned is this disciplined, hard-nosed, kind of like a General Patton type of a leader, if you will. But there was a soft side to Tom too.
Sure.
Now he had and I can't remember Jay's last name, but he played for Boston College, and he got cancer, and Coughlin was at his bedside every night because Jay was such a fighter and didn't want to lose to that disease. He didn't want it to take him. And he inspired Coughlin in a lot of ways. Maybe he softened him a little bit too. I don't know. But I mean, maybe Baselli might not think so when you get down to the Panthers. But prior to that, he really became almost a father figure and a grandfather figure to this particular individual who did end up succumbing to that disease. And to this day, Coughlin still has the J Fund that raises a lot of money for that illness. So even though he was a hard-nosed, and I like to, he loved General Patton, so I'll call him General Patton.
Yeah.
It was his favorite movie, so and he kind of liked his style of leading. So when he leaves Boston College and he goes to an expansion team in the NFL, the team, some of the players, as you mentioned, did not like a lot of his rules. One of his rules were when you came to a meeting, you sat in a chair with both feet firmly planted on the ground. You weren't crossing your legs, and you paid attention to everything that was being said to you. Additionally to that, though, he did it with the Giants. If you weren't 5 minutes early, you were late and fined.
Right.
So it got to the point where the Giants, when he became a Giants coach, they would set all the clocks ahead. And they would make the players put their watches in their home clocks ahead so that their alarms would go off so they'd be at the stadium on time for the meetings. Because if you weren't there, you were going to get fined.
Right.
It's so funny. And I can't remember who was the quarterback for the Jaguars when he brought him to the AFC Championship game.
He was a left-hander.
Was it Brunell?
Yes. Scott Brunell. Mark
Brunell sees Coughlin years later. He's retired. He's moved on with his life, and he sees Coughlin at a golf course. He sprints across fairways because that Tom Coughlin's over there. Oh my! He sprints across fairways and gives him a big bear hug and says to him, "Now I understand why you did what you did.
Sure,
it made me a better man than I am than I was before you came along."
Oh yeah, there's stories like that all over the place. I mean, Parcells had a guy that was dying of cancer. I can't remember his name right now. They wore a patch of him for 1986, the Super Bowl. The last time Parcells saw him, he came into Parcells' office with a bottle of wine, and he was dying. He was going to die. And, he poured a glass of wine for him and Coach Parcells, and they drank. And, of course, Parcells used that. Here's a guy who's ready to die of cancer, and you're here complaining, blah, 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 right? So a lot of coaches, you think they're hard, and they are, right on the outside. They're rough exteriors. But when you hear about Vince Lombardi from the players, or about Tom Coughlin with his players, or Bill Parcells and the players, they all love the guy. They love him because they know what he did, and they know him personally, and they got to know him personally. It's not just, on the field, in the locker room. It's outside, outside in each other's homes where they know each other's families. And when you talk to these players, they tell you, hey, listen, Bill Parcells knew my mother's name, my father's name, my sister's name, all of them. How's this one doing? How's that doing? And he just knew that. And it's part psychology, part, being a hard ass, part being a father. I mean, the good coaches can do this. The bad coaches, they can't.
Yeah, no. Well, Michael Strahan said that he hated Coughlin, couldn't stand him. By time he was retiring, and after that Super Bowl victory, he loved the man and thought him as a father figure, because he would. And you mentioned how he put a committee in place for the Giants, and Strahan was part of that, where he would say, I need to talk. I need you guys to talk to the players for me, and maybe I'm not getting through them. And this was actually Coughlin's wife's idea.
Right.
To told them, said, you need to be more around the players like you are with your grandkids.
Right.
Because when you're with your grandkids, you're a completely different person than I see.
Sure.
So, your spouses can help. A lot of other, there's so many variables that can soften a coach and make him the and I don't mean soften to the point where he's a player's coach, because I don't think anybody would ever say Coughlin was a player's coach. But certainly you'll respect them like they respected Lombardi, who ended up buying fur coats for all of the players' wives in 1960. So you do little things like that, as you mentioned, you get to know the family. You get to know, what makes them tick, what their likes are, what their dislikes are. And and those are the great coaches that really, I think impact people's lives.
Well, they call Lombardi's, one of his nickname was the Pope. And his three things were God, family, and football, in that order. So this is what he was about. So, family, if you don't have good family life, you're not going to play well, right? If your wife's mad, the kids are what, they know. And being coaches doing 24 hours a day, believe me, they know what kind of support you need. So let's talk a little bit about the coaches. Jared Mayo, and he's a Patriots coach. He played with the Patriots. He's coached with the Patriots for years. The Patriots are supposed to be this great lovey-dovey family kind of, together thing. And when Belichick leaves, Mayo's hired. I mean, that was what was understood. That's what was going to happen. It was known, a couple years prior, when Belichick left, Mayo was going to be the coach. Now, he had a rough year. I mean, maybe, he said the players are soft one time and whatever. A little problem with time management here and there. But this team, Bobby, had less talent than the Giants on the roster. Be honest.
I agree.
I mean, this roster was terrible. He didn't draft these players. He wasn't in there saying, give me this offensive lineman. He wasn't part of that. They gave it to him. And the thought process was, you're going to come in here, we're going to rebuild, and in a few years, we're back and we're playing competitive football again. But I guess, Robert Kraft changed his mind and just says, see?
Yeah, Mark Gronkowski went a little crazy yesterday on TV after he heard about the firing. I'm a little perplexed. Also, you draft a rookie quarterback. You have a rookie head coach, and all rookies, I don't care what position you're in, in our own professions, when you first start a job, you're going to make mistakes. Right. It's just human nature. So, I'm not saying Mayo didn't make mistakes. I'm sure he did along the way. I don't follow the Patriots like I follow the Giants, but because they're local here and they're only really literally their stadium's like 20 minutes from my house. So I hear a lot of the chatter from the local sports casters and of course the local fans here, and I started hearing really about a month ago that he was going to get fired, and they were looking to fire him, and I kept saying, well, I was defending him. I mean, how do you hire someone, hand them a roster that they haven't really had a lot of say in developing, also give them a rookie quarterback with no great wide receivers to throw the ball to, no great tight ends to throw the ball to, an offensive line that's young, a defense that's young. I don't know what you expect you're going to get out of that. I don't know. You're not going to get 8 wins.
Yeah.
So they get 4 wins.
Right.
So, I mean, that's probably about the best you could have hoped for, I would think, as a Patriot fan, going in 4, 5, 6 wins. I mean, maybe the ball bounces a different way. I don't know every Patriot game. But, if you got 4 wins, I know Giants have 3. They could have had 5 or 6. I'm assuming the Patriots could have had 5 or 6.
Sure.
So I don't really know what you're looking for when you hire a brand new head coach who's never been head coach before and give him a roster that's, below average.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby, I expected 4 or 5 wins. 5 wins at the most for the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, so he's right around there. I
expect him to finish in last place.
Yeah.
Everything that I think everybody expected happened except this. And I don't know if it's because of public pressure. I don't know. Did he get in a fight with the GM? I don't know. Maybe something happened behind closed doors. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem right. Another firing that happened pretty recently, Jags coach Peterson, prior Super Bowl coach for the Eagles, gets fired. And I thought he was going to be the first to go. Trevor Lawrence really hasn't taken off. I know he's been injured a little bit. But Trevor Lawrence, of course, when he first got drafted, he was going to Hall of Fame. That's all I heard. I mean, this was the next quarterback. This was the next, Dan Marino, Johnny Unitas, whatever. This guy was going to be it. And he really hasn't developed into a great professional quarterback. He's good. He's good. He's a good quarterback. Yeah.
His bio coming out of college was all pro.
Right.
I mean, that's what they were saying about him.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it hasn't happened. No. So Peterson, a former quarterback, again, a Super Bowl coach. I don't know if he gets another head coaching job or he falls back into a coordinator and maybe goes to college. I don't know. But kind of disappointing. I mean, they had that, Urban Meyer thing that happened, which destroyed the Jags. And then they bring him in and thinking, well, yeah, this is going to be good. They go to playoffs and then they just fall back. So I don't know what's going on over there.
So is that kind of like the Giants? Should they have been more patient as like Mara was, or is Mara too patient and the ownership down there is a little more, knee jerk? I don't know. So it's funny, you look at different organizations and you wonder why they're bad year after year after year. That's why the Giants are craving stability, because without that, you're never going to get good. So maybe Jacksonville is in that rabbit hole right now where they're still looking for the chess piece that's going to help them get over the hump that they think that's going to make them a better football team. Yeah, I mean, I don't know this. Did the GM get fired too, or did they just? Is he staying? Well, I mean, I'm a firm believer in this, and I truly believe this, and that's why if you're gonna retain Dable or Schoen, then you retain both. I think we talked about this before when we were talking about Coughlin. When Coughlin was let go by Reese in Giant management, at the time I thought it was a bad move. Reese and Coughlin go, or they both stay. So maybe Mara learned that. I don't know, but it sounds like to me the Jaguars are kind of in that the Jets type of thing where we're gonna just keep turning over and see if something we can something's gonna hit.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, the Jaguars have had a problem, especially with their owner being in Jacksonville. I mean, he's got things in England, and he was talking about taking them to bring him to England. He owns a team over there, and he's very rich. And he was, I want a new stadium, or we're going to England. I mean, there's always been problems with Jacksonville Jaguars. So yeah. We'll see what happens with that. Antonio Pierce. I mean, they're talking. I don't know. They're talking about keeping him. Should they keep Antonio Pierce? I mean, they wanted him to stay. He comes in. The players say we want him. The players that said they wanted him, a couple of them left, said we don't want to be here anymore. And again, here he is at the end of the year. The Raiders are basically in the same position they were last year, maybe a couple of games less. And what do you do with Antonio Pierce?
Their team is a lot like our team. They're kind of in quarterback hell. They haven't had, when they decided to move on, from Carr, that was their decision. And, that was a management's decision. I don't think it was, the coach's decision. I don't think Antonio was the head coach at the time anyways.
I don't think so.
That was a decision that management made to move on from Carr. So whoever you were going to hire, whether it was going to be Pierce, whether it's going to be you, or it's going to be me, we're going to be stuck with a quarterback situation that's in flux. And going back to what we talked about when we opened the show up, a good quarterback play can hide a lot of deficiencies on a football team. Mm-hmm. And they're really a lot like we are, Matt, as far as their makeup goes. They've got some good players. They've got some good defensive players. They got one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL.
Very true.
I mean, they've got good players. They don't have a quarterback.
Very true.
And without that piece, whether it's Antonio Pierce, you or me, we're going to be in that same situation that he's in right now.
We
so
figured
do you
out.
move on from Pierce? And I don't know who the GM is. Do you move on from both? Who hired Pierce?
Me and you would figure it out. I'm telling you.
I use my draft simulator and we'll go by that.
There you go. They used to have those card things in baseball. I don't know. Anyway, the Jets win 32-20 against the second-string Buffalo Bills. Rodgers becomes the fifth quarterback with over 500 touchdowns. I think he ended up with 502 for the year. Don't know if he's coming back to the Jets. I think he will come back and play again next year. I have a feeling they're going to have a new GM, probably a new head coach. I don't know who that's going to be. Does Rodgers come back and play with the Jets?
No. It's so funny because Rex Ryan is interviewing tomorrow for the job. And he shows up today on the ESPN broadcast in a green suit, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What's funny about Rex, though, on Sunday, before the game started, now he knows he's interviewing on Tuesday. On Sunday, Rex is criticizing Rodgers, which is kind of unusual. Now, I understand he's working for ESPN, so he's got to toe that line. But you're also interviewing for a job that you really probably shouldn't be, in my opinion, you shouldn't be commenting on players on the team you're interviewing with to everyone. Because he said that he should not come back.
Right.
So you're interviewing a coach who's already said on TV that your starting quarterback, he believes, should not be there next year. So I found that to be almost comical. It's interesting. I personally think that it's time for both Jets, and if he wants to play another year, and I don't know what team that is, you can maybe look at the playoff teams. I mean, we can talk about even next week. Look at all the playoff teams that maybe lose, and maybe he's the person that could get them over the hump. I don't know, but in their quarterback situations. But I don't see him back with the Jets. I do see him trying to do one more run.
I do too.
One more time.
I do too.
With the team that has a chance to get there.
I mean, my co-host during the day, Jack, says maybe the Steelers. I don't know.
Maybe.
Of course,
that's an interesting, two quarterbacks who are free agents.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the Steelers are gonna sign Wilson. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they don't, and they move on and they sign Aaron because it's funny. The rumors I'm hearing too is Tomlin may want to leave the Steelers, which is crazy. He's been there for over 20 years.
A lot of fans think it's time for him to go too.
So that's a team that could be in flux. Now if that happens, let's say we're being hypothetical here.
Right.
Let's say Tomlin moves on. Is that maybe Rodgers says, I don't really want to go there?
Very possible.
That's a team that's in flux now.
Very
I need
possible.
stability. I need players around me. I mean, not the serious on players, they do, but I think he might want to go someplace where he's got the coach, the front office, and the team.
Stability, a little stability.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe the Vikings. Maybe he does what Favre does. Who knows?
Maybe they move on from Darnold.
we got the Chargers at Houston for this weekend coming up, Bobby. The Chargers are, believe it or not, favored over the Texans. I believe it. I don't think the Houston Texans are playing well. They had a decent week last week. I think the Chargers are going to be a surprise team. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the championship. I like the Chargers.
So do I. I totally agree with you. I think they're going to be one of those sneaky teams that make a run and say, where'd they come from?
Yeah.
They're a West Coast team. We don't see a lot of them on the East Coast anyways.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they win a couple games and wow, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And they find themselves, maybe making a run. Who knows?
Good running back, good defense, quarterback starting to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I think Baltimore beats Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh.
I don't. And that's another reason why Tomlin may want to move on. I think that in that game, I'm going to make a statement here. That game might not even be close.
I think you might be right. I really do. Buffalo at Denver. Denver is not playing the second string Kansas City Chiefs. I was so ticked at that game. If I was the coach in the second half, I'd bring out all my starters and I would have whipped their ass because that was embarrassing. Why even play, Bobby? At the end of the first half, I would have came out and said, hey, listen, we give up. We quit. We forfeit. Why are you even playing? If you're not going to even try, and if you're going to get your ass whipped 38-0, why are you even on that field? I don't care.
No, I agree. No, but I think Denver will give the Bills all they have. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Bills win that game, but I think they'll give them everything that they. I
love the Bills' defensive secondary. They're one of the best in the league. They're like third in the league, and they're going to drive that rookie quarterback, who I like. I like Bo Nix a lot. They're going to drive him. They're going to drive him crazy. He's going to throw a couple of interceptions. Watch. I like Green Bay if Jordan Love is healthy. If he's not healthy, the Eagles win. If he is healthy, I think Green Bay beats Philadelphia.
Oh, I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles in that game a lot. I don't. The Eagles, they won 13 games. Every time they win 13 games, they go to the Super Bowl.
They do?
Yeah, every time.
I'm sure about that. I'll look it up, Bobby. I'll go back to 19.
Don't quote me on it. I'm pretty sure every time they win 13 games, they go to the Super Bowl. Right. So there's an interesting stat for you.
All right. Okay. Even with a 17-game schedule, you sure?
Yeah, they won 13 games. Even with 17 games schedule, they'll win. Every time they win 13 games, and they won 13 games, they go to the Super Bowl.
All right. Okay. I'm going to quote you on that. We have Washington at Tampa Bay. Listen, I loved what Baker did this year. He does things like this once in a while. I think he's a very good quarterback. I just don't think he's there's something about Baker Mayfield. I mean, he has had a great year. He's an MVP candidate to me.
He's had a really good year.
Oh, my God. But I think Washington beats him.
Yeah, I do too. I think Washington wins the game. I think Daniels makes enough plays that puts Washington over the top. And I like Baker. I wish he was wearing a blue helmet with the NY on the side of it.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a lot better this year first, for sure. Minnesota shocked by Detroit, playing the Rams in L.A. Sam Darnold better play a lot better than he played last week, Bobby, if the Minnesota Vikings are going to beat the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that. What the Vikings are going to do at quarterback. Is that maybe a spot for Aaron Rodgers if Darnold comes in and lays an egg this weekend? I don't know. But that's a tough game to call right there. It really is.
Minnesota has two of the best receivers in the league, but guess what? The Rams' two receivers aren't that bad either. So, no. I mean, I don't know.
No, the Rams. We were talking about McConkey earlier in the show. Yeah. He was in my simulator. I was my second round pick.
You're talking about Kupp and Puka
and McConkey. I'm sorry, McConkey on the Chargers. I'm sorry.
Chargers. That's right. That's all right. That's okay. A good running back. Yep. Good running back too. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty even game, and that's why it's only 1 point. So folks, we're out of here. Top of the hour. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the likes. Hopefully the future share our show out there with all the Giant groups because I know they love hearing from us. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back next week with the Big Blues Brothers Show. Have